Hi, this is Nate Nestler for Hyperactive Stews. We're getting ready to go over an in-depth series on Apache LAMP server setup. And this is for web development, and basically this will be a multi-part series where we go over. It's going to be a lot of videos actually on this. It's a fairly in-depth subject, and we're going to be going over different parts of the server bit by bit here. It's going to take a while to go over it all because there's a lot of material here. We'll get into some stuff on security too. How to handle monitoring. I mean, just there's a lot of material to cover on this, and it can be rather involved. So we're gonna kind of dive in, take it in pieces, piece by piece for each video, until we can cover a decent amount of it. I don't know if we'll cover everything there is in Apache, as there's a good number of books on the subject matter, but regardless, there's a lot of material here, and we're going to try to get to where you're really knowledgeable on basically a LAMP server setup and keeping it running and running it to where you can actually launch it on a live server and do it professionally. So with that said, let's start going into it. Now, a couple things I need to get to here. I kind of discussed it a little bit before. One of the things I did here is I started typing in gedit, and when I do, you get this text editor pops up. You can select this and run it. Now I'm already running it, but the moment it does run, you can come down here and right click on it and say lock to launcher. I've already done that, so it's already locked. So now when on my panel here, always, it's here. We use this a lot. So we're going to use this text editor a lot during this, and same thing with the terminal. These are two of your most indispensable networking tools, aside from the file browser. These two are extremely useful, and you're going to use them all the time. So might as well go ahead and just dock them on here because you're going to be using them a lot. Alright, so with that said, that should be launched at this point. And we're going to type up this long script here. And this is the terminal, by the way. This script here is for installing essentially a LAMP. Now, did I put everything there was on here? No, I did not. There's actually more than this if I want. But I didn't choose every option to install. Some of them don't really make sense if you're running on Linux. Like for instance, if you're running installing Microsoft database servers and you're running on a Linux server, it's really not going to work too well, probably. I would assume. I don't know. Maybe you could make it work. I'm not sure. I've never tried. So I've only run with database servers that were meant for Linux. So I'm not sure if you can pull that one off or not. So I wouldn't honestly know. But regardless, this is a script I called lamp ubuntu.sh. So if I come up here to my file, save as here, when I create this file, I can type in lamp ubuntu.sh. This lets me know this is a LAMP setup for Ubuntu versus like Fedora 17 or not even 17, just Fedora period, or maybe CentOS, or maybe SUSE, or maybe Mandriva. I should not even call it Mandriva anymore. I'm trying to remember that it's Magnia or something like that. Like M-A-G-I, no, sorry, N-I-A or something. I don't know, it's something like that. Or Magnia, or I don't know, it's something like that. I'm probably murdering the name of it horribly, but yeah. And then of course we're using Ubuntu here. Ubuntu is quite a good setup for servers here, but anyways, I'm going to name it with a .sh on it. This signifies that this is a shell script, and that it will automatically highlight for it. And then I'm just going to hit my save button down here at the bottom. Now, unfortunately, you see it. My save button is right there at the bottom, and now you can see it. Okay, but I really don't need to click that because I already named mine. If you're doing this now, however, you will need to name it. Okay. With that said, one of the first things we need to do is run an update. Why an update? Because, well, you really need everything installed and up to date before you can run these other packages. It just keeps things from being screwed up. So basically, run your update first. And that's what we're doing here. Then after that, after we do an update, we can do a sudo apt install -y. Why is the -y? Well, the -y, ooh, I need to put -y in here too. Yes. -y keeps you from having to say yes over and over and over again. So you can imagine in an update, this could take quite a while if you're having to say, yes, 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 yes. Say you have like, I don't know, 800 packages to update and install. Do you really want to say yes 800 times? Probably not. So if you put the -y in here, it keeps you from having to say yes to anything. It just automatically updates it. I mean, you've already decided to update it, so just go ahead and update it. You don't need to be asked to death to update what you've already decided to update. Is my point, basically. Um, so by saying -y here, it just says yes to everything. Same thing goes to this. If there's other dependencies it has to have, otherwise it can't install it, you're going to have to say yes to each one of them. So ideally, if you just put the -y in here, you don't have to do that, and so it's going to install Apache 2. And this is the technical one. Now, inside of like Fedora, you're going to have to say HTTPD for RPM systems, but on Debian type systems, you say Apache 2 instead. Another one here we're going to install is FFmpeg. It's a video conversion tool. It lets you transcode video, convert video from one format to another, etc. So that could be useful for server side to do video processing. You may not need that. You may want it. Who knows? I just threw it in there. This is pretty cool. Sudo apt-get install space -y and PHP 5. So we're installing PHP. We're going to install version 5. Everyone uses version 5. No one uses version 4 anymore. Hopefully not, anyways. So version 5's been out for quite a while, and that's pretty much what everybody uses for the most part. All our stuff, and so like if you're in Fedora or whatever, it's just PHP, but on Ubuntu it's PHP 5. So that's the difference. The 5 there matters. And then we can follow along with the other modules here with PHP. We have like CGI, for instance, and CLI, which is command line here. And then we have common, just base PHP stuff. Curl. We need curl. Besides curl, we also have DVG, and we have dev, and we have GMP, and we have GD. GD is actually a graphics library. It's very important if you need to resize images and things of that nature. So absolutely want that. If you want to work with ldap, PGSQL. If you want to work with SVN for basically doing server-side programming, well, yeah, and kind of like you code it over on a client machine, and it's for a whole team of people who are coding together, and then through PHP you can set up SVN with this, which is pretty cool. And you can do team coding, and it lets you check in and out your code, find the difference between your code versus what's the code on the server, and you can integrate your code, and it's just a great way for teams to code. It gets kind of popular now in place of SVN. SVN kind of replaced CVS previously, so it's kind of. Anyways, here's pspell, recode. We have our SNMP, sorry. SQLite, XML RPC, tidy, XSL, which you're going to use with basically your XML, ADOBC, no, sorry, without the C, auth-pam for authorization, mcrypt lets you crypt things, very important. Memcache, also important. MySQL, you have to have this in order to actually code to the MySQL database server, so very important. Just kind of like the SQLite one, lets you go to the SQLite database, which is a file. Actually, it's not like it. This is actually goes up to tier 3, and SQLite would be like a tier 1. FFmpeg, this gives you code capabilities to access the FFmpeg that we saw from above. GeoIP lets you do geolocation IP type work. And then here's different lib, Apache mods, so for Perl, Python, SSL, MRTG, some more SNMP for monitoring and things of that nature. Apache here, pre-fork, utils, Apache 2.2 common, libapache 2-mod-php5, libapr1, libapr util1, libddb -mysql-perl, libdbi-perl, daemon-perl, libplrcp, RPC, -perl. We have libpg, and then where's that PQ? I can't remember. 5. I'm forgetting at this point. MySQL-client-5.5, MySQL common, MySQL server 5-5, lib apache 2-mod-auth- my PHP myadmin. This is actually a really useful tool. A lot of network admins use for doing web-based administration of their MySQL servers. Pretty useful. Python, MySQL Workbench. This is a client. This is a you run it directly on the computer itself as a GUI program. This is more for developers. Network admins typically don't run this because you're going to be running command line, like run level 3. So, yeah. Tassel, this is what we actually used when we did install the initial system with the, yeah, with everything. Vim, let's just do a VI on steroids, basically. It lets you highlight code. It's a lot nicer. Definitely prefer Vim over VI. Also, I'm kind of pointing out that if you use Tassel, which is great, make sure you do not uncheck anything, because it will just destabilize your system and kind of screw everything up. So you can only check things, never uncheck things on that. Just FYI. This actually gives you a listing of all the possible Apache, not Apache, but PHP 5 modules you can have. And so you can add them to this list of installs that we have. And then here's enabling those modules. So this enables PHP 5 to actually work. Here we're actually getting our IP address for IPv4 of our server. Now, key point here is that this is ifconfig gives you a listing of all your stuff, and then you say eth0 be only Ethernet card 0, be the first one, right? Because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have multiple cards, you could have multiple IP addresses for that server. But anyways, we're going to pipe this into grep, and we're going to search for inet. Inet is going to be your IPv4 address, and then we're going to pass that to awk and print only the second field, which is going to be the IPv4 address. So perfect, and that displays that. Here we go. If you want more information on this, look through my scripting series where I go over and break down some of the stuff, because I actually do break down these different commands, and you will definitely want to look through that to explain that better. I'm not going to go through the gory details of grep and awk. I do in other videos, so check those videos out because the stuff gets involved and it's beyond the scope of this video. Sudo service apache 2 start. To start it, I'm not going to go ahead and activate the MySQL stuff. There's actually more stuff to do MySQL. We're going to cover that in another video. And just setting up users and assigning them to different databases for with permissions and all that stuff for security purposes. Because basically you don't want to manage things through anything through development with the actual root account for the database, because it's insecure to do that. So we'll get into how to securely handle that and do that correctly. So that's the whole script, and basically you just need to input all these. My apologies not for going through all of them, but there's a bunch of PHP ones in here that will really help you a lot for doing your code. Now you don't want to cut out too much of stuff, because if you do, then people won't be able to actually do their development they need to do, and that is problematic. So ideally you want to make it where people can code without an issue on your server. And so if you're a network admin, you don't want to hold back modules that would be a problem for people developing, because essentially if someone can't develop on your servers, guess what? They're going to have to go elsewhere and maybe even set it up themselves. So through this, actually, I'm showing you how to set it up yourself, but basically my point is that if you don't have the tools that people need in order to develop their sites, they simply won't use your service. So it's best to put as much stuff as you can on here. And I'm not even getting into other ones that you'll probably want. Maybe you want Cake PHP's in-frame for it, CodeIgniter, Symfony. Let's see here. Maybe you want Joomla, or maybe you want also WordPress, etc., etc. These are all very popular choices here. And so you can install those too, in addition to this. And not having gotten into that, I might later on go into how to install that stuff and set that stuff up. Right now, I'm just going through, this is how you do LAMP, just basic stuff. Well, not basic stuff LAMP, but here's how to do a full-fledged LAMP, more or less. Alright, save this after you type it all up, and then we can run it. So if I go over here to my terminal, And you might go, well, I don't have a terminal up. No problem. You can click over here and you can say terminal. Now in the previous video I actually docked this terminal permanently. If you click this right now, it'll launch your terminal, and then afterwards you can essentially lock it to the launcher. Right now it's saying for me to unlock it because I already locked it, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to blow this up a bit so you can see it real nice and clearly anyways. Alright, so and then I'm just going to make myself well, first off, one of the things I did on this here is I did mkdir and I said scripts, and I made that folder. Now, I already made that folder. You can see scripts right here, but that would generate a scripts folder, and that's where I saved the file into that we were just working with. So I should mention that ahead of time. But yeah, you can save the file in there. If need be, you can move the file with the mv command, the name of your file, and then in which case would be what lamp ubuntu .sh, and then you could just say /scripts. I'm too lazy to type the whole thing, so just hit tab, and then that would move it from there to there, from where you're currently at to scripts. Cool. With that said, though, let's go cd into scripts. Hit tab and pop in there, ls, and we can see my script, which is lamp ubuntu.sh. Now I could just do sh and then start typing in lamp ubuntu.sh and run it, and that would work. Okay, of course, I need to be root, so I'd have to sudo that first. So I'd have to say sudo sh lamp ubuntu whatever. I'm not going to type the whole thing. Just hit tab, and that would run it, and that would work. The other thing I can do is also give it execute permissions, and that works great. So if I want to say chmod space +x, which would be execute permissions for everyone. If I wanted to, I could say just for the user by putting a u in front of it, or I could say g for group only, and this only adds execute permissions to group, and delete o for other for everyone else, if I'm not mistaken. But if I just say +x, it's going to go to everybody. It's going to be user, group, and everyone else. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I don't care, but probably should, but I don't. And if I do a .sh star in front of this, it's going to be all scripts that end in sh, all shell scripts essentially. Hit enter, ls, bam, you notice it changes color. Green means execute. So now what I can do is I can say sudo space / lamp and then run it, or I could put the sh in front of it, right? So I have two choices. I can do this right here, or I can do the /. I'm just going to do the / because either one works. It's the same thing either way. It's just I feel like doing the /. But basically, I turned my program and I turned that script into an executable program at that point by giving it an execute permission. That's one of the deciding differences between, say, like Windows and Linux. Windows, you can have a .exe, whereas on Linux, you're going to have a execute permission. So it's the way it works. So the extension doesn't matter. It's what permission does the file have to do. And if the file can execute, then it executes. And it's an executable program. If it can't execute, even if it is a program, it won't run because it doesn't have permission to be run. Maybe only certain people are allowed to run that program. See, so it's handled through permissions instead of particular file extension or anything like that. So pretty cool, really smart system in Linux here, and I love it. It's quite nice. So let's go ahead and say enter at this point and run this. It's going to prompt me for my password, so I'm going to put in my password. And we are going to let this install like crazy. And because I said yes to everything, it's just automatically installing for me. I really don't have to do anything. I can sit back and let it do all the work. Now I could have typed in each one of those one by one into the terminal and been here like for an hour just typing them in. But by typing into a file like this, I really don't have to. I can just kind of sit back and let it do all the work for me. And then I really don't have to worry about it. And it's just downloading, installing everything I need. Pretty cool. Doing one by one, one after the other, for each one that we need. Which is nice. Very, very nice indeed. And this is a great way. I highly recommend doing scripts for this. I mean, yeah, you could sit there and try to remember off the top of your head every single program you want to install, and you could do it all by hand over and over and over again for each server every time you need to set it up. But to be honest, you're going to make typos. It's just going to happen. There's no way you're going to type every single thing and not make a typo. And then if you make a typo, installs is not such a big deal because it comes back and tells you right away, and then you have to sit there and remember, or maybe you forgot one. Oh gosh, if you forget one out of that whole list, right? Then something wouldn't work, right? So if you want like consistency and a good repeated, I would say, good consistent product, if you will, you want to have a good oh quality assurance. There we go. That's the word for it. If you want good quality assurance, then you're going to want to script it, because by scripting it, it's going to let us get the setup we want. Alright, we're going to select the Apache 2. There we go. So Apache 2 is selected. Say OK for our PHP MyBin. And continuing on. Alright, PHP mesh must be have a database installed and configured before it can be used. So they handle blah 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 blah. If you are advanced database administrator and know what you want to perform configuration manually, or if your database has already been installed, we should refuse this option. Alright, awesomeness. Sure. Alright, now we set this up before when we did our install. So whatever your password was, set up your password for this. Password confirmation for creating the password. And there you go. And we're up and going. And we're installing Python now. This is 2.7. Probably also want to install Python 3.3 or whatever it is. And we're also installing the MySQL Workbench now. And you see some of the benefits of doing this. It's just everything just kind of automated and automatically just goes in, downloads, installs everything we want, everything we need for our server, and then we're just good to go. Okay. And our web server is now started and running. Bam, done. That's that. So we now have all this awesome stuff, and it's all running. It's great. Beautiful. So, very, very cool. This is a listing of all the different possible, because we put that in there, so it lists all the possible PHP modules, including Tokyo Tyrant, which I just find hilarious. But yeah, you can choose additional ones if you like, but these are the ones I chose. Right here is pulling my IP address. So that's the one I have for my server. Very cool. This is a great way of finding out. Alright, so there's all that, and that's what the script running. And so now we're set up and ready to go. Just to prove it, if I come in here, go to another one of these desktops, because we have multiple desktops here, I'm going to go ahead and launch Firefox by clicking on it. And Firefox launches for the first time. If I come in here and I type in localhost, this and hit enter, it comes back and says it works. Default web page for this server, and the web server software is running, but no content has been added yet. Yep, it's because we just have a blank page. So this is a test page that is already generated for you by the Apache server, and basically shows you that the server is running and working. So by typing localhost in there, that means point to our loopback, point back to our computer, our server, and so we're guaranteed to work. True, I could also put in the IP address we just got back from our terminal. So I could have come in here and say selected this right here and then held down Control Shift C just to copy that, and then come over back here just by clicking on Firefox browser. Oh, should just take me straight to it. Okay, it doesn't. Alright, so click on the workspace here and then come down to the one where the web browser is. And like that, and I could also point, I should be able to point to my IP address and get the same thing. So there we are. And that's another one, points loop back. Or to put it another way, 127.0.1, it's also pointing to this computer. I don't know if they do IPv6 on here. If it is, it's going to be ::1. Nope, it doesn't know IPv6. Okay, cool. Well, just had to check. Anyways, here we are with localhost and pointing back to ourselves. Actually, usually if we have one of those, yeah, we absolutely don't have IPv6 set up. Interesting. Okay. Well, there we are. And that points to ourselves, and this is our web page. So with all that said and done, that is getting a LAMP server set up and going. In the next video, we'll actually start going over the different parts of Apache, and we'll go over virtual hosting, we'll go over log files, we'll go over some performance things here eventually, icons, I mean just tons of stuff. Tons and tons of stuff. Some security stuff too. I mean, it's all very important, and we'll have to go over a lot of things. So, but anyways, with that, my name is Nate Nestler, and this is for Hyperactive Studios. And check out the next video because there'll be a whole series of them. All right, I'll talk to you later.